Yeah, YouTubers, Taz man here, bringing you, I guess it's another episode of Foundry VTT from the ground up. Technically, this is kind of new. This is kind of an update. We're gonna call it Foundry VTT. Maybe we'll even stick in the version number to kind of make it 0.8.9. So that it's a little more clear as to what we're talking about. So this is going to be, like I said, a ground up type video where we go from the very base of nothingness and build up our knowledge of the product we're talking about, which is Foundry in this case. So I know I had one of these probably about a year ago. I started one of these. And I decided there's been enough changes in both Foundry and in Fantasy Grounds that I probably need to make a new one. Now, one thing is, you'll notice, well, maybe you don't notice, but this is my VM that I set up. Now, last time we tried doing Foundry in the VM, it had an issue when we tried doing roles in the chat window, and it didn't seem to work. We kept getting some weird error, which threw some people off, thinking, oh, well, I don't want to do Foundry if it's broken, but that's only if you're doing it inside a VM, and whatever was causing that has been fixed. I don't know. There's three things it could be. It could be the VMware Workstation update, it could be a Windows update, or it could actually be the upgrading of Foundry. But it does seem to work now. So I wanted to get that out there and let you know right up front, if there are issues related to it being in a VM, that is not on Foundry. That is on the VM, because it works great not on a VM. And I think it's actually working great now on a VM. I haven't had a chance to really do it. But I went and I decided we're going to do it from the ground up. If you're interested in getting Foundry, the first thing you're going to want to do is go to Foundry's website. So if you just come into Google and type Foundry VTT, you'll be taken to, top should be this guy right here. If you click it, we go to the Foundry thing. Now, if you don't have an account, you actually have to have an account. And then you'll be able to do a purchase. So you'll be able to purchase it. That almost always comes up. So just agree that it can agree to their privacy policy and stuff. But to purchase it, then all you have to do is click this link and you can purchase it. I've already purchased it, so I don't think I need to do that again. But as you can see, it's only $50. And what this gives you for $50 exceeds that cost by a lot. And I don't have any discount codes, but with a discount code, maybe 10 or something off, you click your 2 boxes and then you do your checkout. Kind of easy as far as that go. Once you have it, to download it, you'll come into where you're logged in, you'll click on this, and you'll come down to purchase licenses. If we scroll down the page, and I'm not going to show the page above because that's where the actual license is. I'm going to have to cut that out. But you can see you'll have this down towards the bottom of the page. As you can see, you'll have this download Foundry. Now you can choose to do the recommended stable releases. You can go do any of those if you prefer them. Right now the recommended is the stable release, which is good. There's also the feature testing release, the API development release, prototype release. These are the ones that are more likely gonna break everything as you do it. They'll break. You don't want to run any game on any of these other ones other than the stable, because they've been pretty tested. Then you simply click download. This gives you a little explanation about the different states. So recommended is usually going to be your stable. Then feature testing is releases testing functionality of new features. API development releases testing design of new features and API changes to obtain feedback from the developers. And then prototype, as you can see, it is red. Releases for previewing the design of experimental features which are not fully yet developed. So this one is probably going to have lots and lots of bugs, by the time it gets up here to recommended stable, you're going to be in pretty decent shape. So once you've done that, you just click the download and it downloads to your computer. Let's go ahead and go here. I've already downloaded. In fact, I already have it installed just to make sure the roll issue was fixed, but we're still going to do it anyway. The install, really simple. You just double click it. If you're prompted for user account control, you can go ahead and put in your credentials and stuff. And then you'll pretty much be granted with this guy here. You just click I agree. If you're happy with the default place, I believe this is the default place. I'm not sure if it tries putting it in app data or something like that. I think it is in the program files. You can go ahead and leave that, and then you just click install. Takes a few minutes. Actually, it looks like it uninstalls and then reinstalls because it actually removed our icon. So now it's installing. And it takes a minute. Now, on that page that we were in, where I said the key was up top, you do want to go get a copy of that key on your clipboard because you're going to need it. So once we're done with that, we can click Run Foundry. We can close this window now. Or if we have that unchecked, we can just double click our icon on the desktop. If it's not on the desktop, it will be in here under the F's if you have Windows 10. So before you get to this screen, you usually are greeted with a screen that says enter the license key. You just go ahead and enter that license key, hit enter, and then it will come to this screen. We're going to talk just a little bit about these. This is a world that I already have set up, and there's a reason I have this. It's completely bare bones. We've used it in the past, but there's a reason I wanted to have this shown. And I didn't actually delete it. But we will be actually creating our world. So we're going to start all the way over here on the right, and we're going to go through the different settings, configurations, and setup. So the very first one that we're going to talk about, not the very first one in the line, is the software update. Anytime there's an update, there will actually be a little orange exclamation point, circle with an exclamation point in it. I believe it's black. Will appear down here or right here, I don't remember where. And then if you come in here, it will say there's an update. All you have to do is click the thing down here. It will say download update or something, and then it'll pop up a window and there will be another download up and install, and that's it. It'll actually, you'll see a progress bar down here that's blue. It'll go all the way to 100 saying it's downloaded, and then it'll go ahead 100 that it's installed, and then it's done. It'll actually reboot Foundry for you. You can also choose a basic choices here. We can choose the alpha unstable, the beta release candidate, or the release stable. So that will be the channel, the update channel that you have. Now, if by chance you are running, say, 0.8.9 and it starts having issues, and you come in here and you can't do a check for update, it just says you're updated, you can always do a force update, and this will actually reinstall the software for you. Kind of the same thing as when I double clicked the installer, even though it was already installed. The next tab we're going to talk about is going to be configuration. This is a password that you will use to get onto Foundry. I'm going to go ahead and just set it to a password. This is the port that Foundry will be listening on. So if you know much about port forwarding or something like that with your router at home, you can actually host your server directly off your system, and people on the internet can actually connect through your firewall and be pointed directly to your Foundry thing. This is the port that Foundry is going to be listening on, 30,000. Enable UPnP, this is Universal Plug and Play. This is some options where it tries to auto-configure with devices on your network. So it might try and do settings in your router or something like that. A lot of printers and stuff like that have been UPnP, where you just plug them into your network cable or something, or connect them into Wi-Fi, and they try and send out information to computers to say, hey, I'm here. If you want to use me, here's how. Then we have our user data path. Sorry about the tongue twisted. You can choose anywhere. This is where your worlds that you create and data files and stuff like that are going to be. I believe also this is where modules that you download and your game system choices will all go. We're going to look at that in just a little bit. So as you can see, I have mine just going into my documents, and I called a folder in there called Foundry VTT. I'm not 100% sure if that's the default location that it does it, but that's where I'm forcing it to. It is recommended that you don't put it in the same location, which was program files, Foundry VTT, because then when it does a update or something like that, it uninstalls the previous version or deletes those files, and it might also delete those. So always keep those separate. I think even if you try and do that and put it in the same place, it will whine and complain saying, hey, this is a really bad idea. Now, as I said, we have our bare bones right here, and the reason for that is you can also choose if you want to have a default world loaded. So if you only have one campaign you're running, and 90% of the time or 100% of the time you always want that default world just to automatically pop up when you launch Foundry, you can actually choose in here, and it will go to the game worlds list and actually list all of your worlds that you have created. So you can actually change that. Now, if you do that, you will not be greeted with this screen at all. You'll be greeted with the next screen, but there still is a way to get here, which we'll talk about shortly. So the next thing is the default language. I don't know if you install language packs, but right now the only one I see is default is English for the localizations. We have the optimized static files. This is basically more for your developers. It will optimize any static JavaScript, CSS files that it has to send across the network so that they'll be as small as possible. It will get rid of, a really good way of understanding that if you know programming and stuff, when you create files or create programs, you might stick in lots of comments and lots of extra stuff for debugging and things like that. If you optimize the static files, what it'll do is before it sends that out, it will cut out all those comments and stuff like that, so that it's basically just the code that's being sent to the client, which will go a lot faster than all this other stuff that the client's not even going to use. So this is really handy to have checked if you're not developing. As you can see down here, it says enabling this setting is recommended for most users, but module developers may wish to disable it. So I think the default state of it is disabled. This certificate is if you have an SSL cert or the server you're putting it on has an SSL cert, which is a secure socket layer. These are what are out on the internet to help you know that when you're talking to a site, yes, this is the site. It's been certified as the site, and you're talking to who you think you're talking to. This is not required for you to actually be able to run a game. This is just an additional layer of oh, there it is, secure socket layer. Encryption. It encrypts your communication between your players and the server itself. And then AWS is the Amazon Web Services. If you have Amazon Web Services, you might need the configuration path for that. So once you've done all that, you can go ahead and say save changes, and it will have everything ready. Now I recommend doing these two, mostly this one, before you actually start setting up a world, because it's going to want to put your world in a specific place and you might want it elsewhere. So to get everything in the right place up front, you probably want to at least do the configuration first. There's really nothing, once you install, you don't really have to do anything here. So the next thing we're going to do is the add-on modules. Now, as the game master, the GM, you can choose what modules are available. And we're just going to do, I've been contemplating what ones to do. I don't want anything that's going to actually change the functionality of Foundry Virtual Tabletop, because I want you to see it in its native form, and then we can start looking into modules later, because there are a lot of modules. In fact, if we go to this install modules, so if we have modules, we can click update all, and it will go down the list and it will update them one by one. You'll get a little bar up here saying this has been updated, this has been updated, this has been updated, and things like that. The only one that I'm thinking I'm going to install right now is one called Dice So Nice, which all it really does is makes it so you have, actually I might install two. I just thought of another one. So Dice So Nice makes it so that you actually get a 3D dice that rolls across the table to give it that real, I'm role playing, rolling the dice and stuff like that. It gives that feel instead of just typing in a chat. The other one is called Dice Tray. And Dice Tray, simply at the very bottom of the chat window, will put a line of dice. For those that don't like to type, you can actually just click on these dice, type in a modifier, or click a plus, I think, for the modifier, and it will create the command that it needs for you. So we're going to install those two just so you get an idea. But like I said, I didn't want to actually install anything that was going to change how Foundry actually works, like, you know, things that might give you more lighting or stuff like that. I want you to see the default, and these two are easy enough to say these are not the base thing. They just kind of make they're a quality of life thing. So as you can see, there are 1,074 packages or modules currently. Now, these are constantly being updated. Of these 1,074, 57, as you can see under premium content, are things that you have to pay for. So that's a lot. That's over 1,000 modules that people have written that are basically free. And if you come into any of these modules, for example, we see this is for D&D 5e and 3.5. If you want more information, you can click on the little link here, and it will give you information. This will take you to dragonshorns.com, where you can actually purchase the thing. So anyway, you can do that if you want to purchase. However, you don't have to purchase. We can go, for example, we could go down to dice rolling, but I'm going to leave it in all packages, and we're going to type DICE. So here's the first one I want to do. This gives you some basic information, the author, the version, and an install button. Once again, if you click on this link, you can get more information about it. So we click on that, Dice So Nice, we'll go to GitLab, and we'll be able to see what exactly this module is and decide if we want it or not. So if we scroll down here, we can see what it is. This module is for Foundry, adds the ability to show 3D dice simulation when a roll is made. So normally you just get your dice here, and then you'll get these little boxes here. What this will do is actually give you the ability to see dice rolling across the table. Now, you can't change the size of the dice, which is kind of a pet peeve of mine, but it's still really nice to be able to have dice. So I'm going to go ahead, we're going to install that one, and then the other one that I wanted to do is called Dice Tray. So if we click on this, like I said, it will tell us, did I click it? There we go. What this does is just makes it so the commands we use, we can actually have the, wait, is this the wrong one? This might be the wrong one. I might not remember the name. This one does do the same type of thing, but the one I'm thinking of actually puts a little dice tray down here, and then it has like little icons of the different dice, and you just click those. This is kind of the same thing, and I do remember using this one before. I just didn't know. This is Dice Calculator. I must click the wrong one. Dice. Wait, that says Dice Tray, but this does say Dice Calculator. I could have swore it was called Dice Tray. Huh. I wonder if that's a glitch. We have a glitch in the matrix. What if I tried doing tray right here? There is no one called Dice Tray directly. I'll have to look up what that one is, and maybe we'll install that later. But we're fine with Dice So Nice for now. So now that we have it, you can actually see here that it lists it out, gives you basic information about it. It has localization. It's version 414. I mean, we can update it. We can uninstall it. We can lock it so that if we know that the next version might break something that we actually use, we can say, nope, don't update this one. Leave it where it is, which is actually a really nice thing. Wait, this says it, right? No, that's Dice So Nice. I'm like, that doesn't say calculator. So anyway, there's that. Also, if you have a whole ton of these, you can actually just click update all, and it will go down the list and it'll tell you they're current. The next thing that's important here is the game system. There are actually a fair amount of game systems, 155 game systems. We already have installed D&D 5th edition, and I think this is the latest version. But you can come down this list. You could type D&D here, or you could scroll up and down the list and find, like, if you want to play Pathfinder. They are not... I don't know how they're sorted. I don't know what they're sorted by. But if you know what you want, you could just do D&D. Or is it called D&D? Yeah, that's how they call it. D&D 5e, and you can see it's already installed. This is actually this system is actually developed by the same person that brought us Foundry, so you know it's going to be good. Once again, you have your GitLab thing here where you can go see what actually it is if you don't know on different game systems. You can always go to, I think it's the release page here. Actually, I don't know that that's the one I'm thinking of. Yeah, it is actually, because here you can actually do things and, well, you can read about what was updated. So from 1.4.0 to 1.4.2, these are the bug fixes, these are what was added, and things like that. So it's really nice. He's done a great job on doing this. And then if you come in here, you click once again the update all button, and it looks like there is an update. So 1.2.4 is what we have there, and that said it was 1.4 something, so I haven't updated this one in a long time. So there was the download. This is probably the extracting or the copying into the right place, uninstalling whatever, the old version. And now you can see we have the 1.4.2. And we get this little thing saying that this is all updated. We went from 1.2.4 to 1.4.2. We just changed those two numbers, and there you go. The final area here is the game worlds. And this is really cool too, because there's even free game worlds. So obviously premium means that you have to pay for it. There aren't any listed there. But there are actual whole adventures that people have published that you can actually use, like The Secret of Porvenir, or this, all these different ones, the Clash at Cobalt Cauldron. So all you have to do is click install, and that will actually create a world for you. This is saying compatibility risk because we actually updated our game system. When we launch this world, it will actually say that it's going to update the files, and we won't be able to launch them in a lower system. So we're going to go ahead and create a world just to show you what it is, and we're just going to call this, let's just call it My World. And the data path for it is going to be data, worlds, and then My World, right? My World. We can choose our game system. Right now we only have one installed, so that's the only one available. We can give it a nice background if we want, so when the thing comes up, I'll show you what that's going to be. We can set up when our next session is, the time, the date, and then we can also do it's a full WYSIWYG type GUI of being able to create your world description. So you can do headings, you can do inline stuff like bold, italics, underlines, you can do block quotes, You can align text. You can add custom secret things. You can do bulleted, unordered list, bulleted, numbered list. You can add pictures. You can add tables. You know, you can actually pretty much anything you can do in Word, you can kind of do in here. It's not 100% the same. This is your secret code block. Clearing formatting so that, you know, if I have things, I don't have to go uncheck them. I just click that and it goes back to the default. And then, of course, we could add horizontal lines. So once we've done that, we can actually click Create World, and boom, there we go. And you can see, I'm actually not sure why this says compatibility risk. I thought it was because we updated our game system, but it might just be telling you because of modules or something like that. So we're not going to worry about that. But we can always come in at any time. We can edit our thing. We have these options, a couple other options. We can reset user passwords. So if we have, and we're going to talk about that, how you set up your different users and set up their passwords. You can reset the user's passwords so that you go add new ones. People can't log in anymore. Launch in a safe configuration. If we click on this, we can see what this actually is doing for us. Go ahead and accept that. It should be in here. But obviously, I don't know 100% what that is, but if I were to guess, it means it's going to launch with all our modules disabled. So if you're having a world that all of a sudden is having issues launching, you might come in here, try launching in a safe configuration, see if it launches. If it launches, then odds are it's a module that's causing the issue. Now, there are ways of actually figuring out what that module is. That might be outside of the scope of this, but we'll see. Maybe we'll kind of lean into that a little bit. So you also have the option then to delete worlds. So if we want to delete the world we just created, we go ahead. It wants you to type in exactly what it's called here. If you have a really big name one, that's kind of a pain. So a real quick secret is before you're going to delete it, go in here, copy the actual name of the world, and then close it, and then say delete, and then you can just paste it. Because if it's like this is my world of awesomeness, you actually have to type it in exactly like it was, and if you do that, then you can delete it. We're at 27 minutes. I don't want to make these too long. The last thing I probably want to show is what the file structure looks like for these things. So we know that on in program files, I don't remember if it was 64-bit or not, but yeah, it's 64-bit. So in program files is all the actual stuff about Foundry itself. We don't ever want to touch this stuff. We don't want to really do anything with it. This is all the program. When we install it or upgrade it, it will clean this out and do it. This is where I was telling you, you don't really want to mess with it. That's why we wanted to put in our documents. So where we have it in my documents, I could either click documents here. If we want to take the long path, we could go to users, Tasman, and then documents, and then Foundry VTT. So in here, we have our configurations that we set, our license information, options. We don't ever have to really touch those. We have our logs. If we're having errors, we can come in here and we can see what those are. Looks like we haven't had any real errors because there's 0, but we've had, you know, the debug log that tells you this has been updated, this has been updated, everything we've been doing. Then we have our data. In here, we have our modules. These are the modules we have installed. The systems are the systems we have installed, and the worlds is our world. So inside our world here, bare bones, we're actually going to create some things because I like to have just a little more structure. So the data here in bare bones is going to be the database that the system keeps internally of all your different things, your users, your tables, playlists, macros, all your different things that you actually create in there, your scenes. This is going to be all those, and we're going to talk about those as well. I'm going to stretch this out just a little. Our packs right here, not 100% sure what this one is. the big one that we really care about is this is where our main scenes are. This is the data for our scenes. But what I like to do is come in here and actually create a new folder, and I call it assets usually. Assets. And then inside assets, I will usually create something called images. Almost like I'm doing a web page. And then I create one here called, I usually call one called maps. Whoops, I have to spell it right though. And then I also do AUDIO. So something like that. And then usually I'll even have one for tokens. And if you want, you could do one for portraits, you know, but I kind of just do those. So obviously in the audio is where I'm going to put any MP3s for sound and stuff that I'm going to have. Images is going to be just basic images. Anything that isn't a token image or a map image. Now I know those are different, but maps are frequently used and tokens are frequently used, and I like to keep those separate. So then maps obviously is going to be all your different battle maps, and then tokens are obviously going to be your little tokens / portraits usually. So that's how I like to set it up. You can do it however you want, but that's pretty much this is pretty much all you really need to worry about. We can hit F5 to and worlds is the biggest area that you need to worry about. So there's our world right there. If we look at like this is our settings that we just set up. It will have the things like the name of it, the title. You can see the compatible core version. Probably this is what's causing the thing to pop up. The system we chose. If we have any of those other things, then this safe mode is the one we were talking about, where it says compatibility issues, and then our system version. So all this stuff is those settings. I mean, everything, I don't need to do that right now, is what you're going to need. So we're at about 32 minutes right now. I think we're going to end this here. This basically, I wanted, my goal for this video was to show you how to download, install, and configure Foundry VTT. Now in the next episode, we're going to jump into the interface, and I mean, this part is actually more GM themed. It's more what the GM's going to be doing. I'm actually going to do a separate set of videos that will actually contain what the player can do and what the player sees, because the player will actually never actually see this window. When they connect to your table, they'll just go to a web page, your IP with the 30,000 at the end, kind of like this. And that's basically the local machine here. Oh, actually, no, this one isn't. This is when it was broken. So we could just do, I guess I broke that one, colon 30123. I'm going to copy that. See. And as you can see here, this is where they can choose the world or whatever. Now, if I have a link directly, then it will take them there. Although this is still logging me in as admin because I'm on the local machine. I think if they'll usually have a link that I think says game. And I don't have the game active right now, and that's why it's saying that. So once I have the world running on the main one, then they'll be able to connect to it. I'm going to actually do this real quick. See, and we're going to update this link because it seems to be working now. This one right here. All right, so I think that will do it for this episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a thumbs up down below. Aside from that, comment, like, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Check out my Discord and my other channels. And don't forget to tell other people about my channel. Have them check it out. If they like what they see, they can sub. We just grow the channel. And that's it, my friends. Until next time, I'll be seeing you later. Bye.